Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Rogers, Arkansas, July 6th, 2022. An Arkansas probation officer, accompanied by police, went to the home of 34-year-old James Womack. It was an unannounced visit because if you're keeping your nose clean, you shouldn't need anyone to say they're dropping in. Upon entering Womack's residence, they found him sitting on an eyeglass case. Either he has eyeballs in his behind or he didn't want anyone to know what was in that case. Well, it turned out there was a good reason that Mr. Womack didn't want anyone looking in that case because inside it the police found several syringes, as well as a small vial containing a substance that tested positive for methamphetamine. They also found a small plastic bag that contained a residue which also tested positive for meth. Womack was arrested and held on a $20,000 bond. Now, the white media has given some passing attention to this incident, but they're not giving a whole lot to it. Some of you might say, well, this is a congressman's kid after all, and the propaganda arm of white supremacy is expected to show deference to the administrative arm. They are, after all, two parts of the same evil anti-black machine. But do you truly believe that if this guy wasn't a congressman's kid, that this wouldn't be happening? Let's get serious. Because you won't be surprised to learn this chump's been in and out of trouble with the law since at least the early 90s. Did I mention this guy is only 34 years old? What that means is he was born in 1988. So to have been in trouble with the law since at least the early 90s, that means that this guy was in trouble with the law before he even made it to middle school. Well, I guess he wanted a head start on his life of crime. His juvenile record, of course, is not public, but he certainly made up for that with his adult record, because in 2010 he was sentenced to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to conspiracy to deliver a controlled substance. It was 6 grams of meth. So this guy's a meth dealer. But instead of going to prison, he got to go into a treatment program, a 105-day so-called boot camp. And if he completed it, his record would be expunged. You can guess how long that lasted. He didn't stay out of trouble long because in April 2012 he was arrested on a parole violation. Now, what the nature of the parole violation was has still not been made public even to this day 10 years later. But whatever it was severe enough that he was held without bond. But you see, just like the Georgia reprobates I told you about a couple of days ago who were shooting at the police while leading them on a high-speed chase, the enforcement arm of white supremacy makes it a point to conceal the information about certain individuals while publicizing that of others. September 2018, Womack was arrested again on 11 counts, including possession of methamphetamine or cocaine with intent to deliver, as well as gun charges. In 2019, he pleaded guilty to 5 of the felony charges and began serving what was supposed to be a 9-year prison sentence. He had drugs and a gun. He's been in trouble numerous times before, and of course, the very next year, 2020, the Arkansas Department of Corrections placed him on a list of inmates to be considered for early release because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And now we can all see how well that went. Can you imagine if this Womack character was the child of a black politician? Oh, the white media would be talking about role models and such, and what does this mean for black politicians in the future? It would be wall-to-wall trial of the century stuff. They'd be putting the entire black community on trial, talking about a failed culture, what about the home, and they would be making non-veiled assertions that this reflects on the entire black community. It'd be about, what does this say about the black community? That's what it would be if this was a black congressperson's child who had this kind of a criminal record going back to the freaking 90s. This guy was committing crimes since he was in freaking Pampers. And I still have trouble getting over that. This guy was born in 1988. How the hell is he in trouble with the law in the early 90s? Even if it was like 94 or 95, that would mean the guy was like 6 or 7 years old. I mean, what the hell was he doing? Mugging his classmates on the playground? Handing out mollies at recess? Carjacking the bus driver? I mean, what the hell was he doing that he was already having run-ins with the law in elementary school? I tell you, that white privilege is something else, ain't it? But if he had been a black politician's child, one thing's for sure, you wouldn't be hearing scant or occasional mention of it. It'd be wall to wall. And whoever the kid's father was would have been run out of Congress a long time ago. But then again, Joe Biden's own children are also drug addicts, and that's had no impact on his political career at all. Professional courtesy among white supremacists, you see. This guy is a career criminal. He likes drugs and he likes guns. And by the way, isn't that supposed to lead to harder charges when you commit a drug crime or any crime with possession of a gun? He's pleaded guilty numerous times, and yet he's gotten pass after pass after pass. Now, before any of the trolls or the half-wits say, "But Professor, his father's a congressman, what do you expect?" His father only became a congressman 11 years ago, in 2011. This punk's been having run-ins with the law for almost 20 years before that. Did somebody have a crystal ball and say, well, this kid's father's going to be a congressman in 20 years, so whatever he's doing here in elementary school and middle school, we better let him off the hook for it? No. This is not a matter of his father being a congressman. That might give him a little bit more protection, but that doesn't mean that this is some sort of anomaly. And being a meth dealer, he ought to get the book thrown at him on general principle just for that. But of course, as we all know, meth is a politically protected narcotic. The battle cry for the so-called war on drugs has always been lock people up for life for possession or use of heroin or crack, and that's because black people were disproportionately the users of crack. Meanwhile, powdered cocaine, which crack is made from, was punished less harshly because the primary users of powdered cocaine are white. We can thank Joe Biden for having rammed the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act through Congress for that one, because that was the law which Biden co-sponsored that created the 100-to-1 sentencing disparity between powdered cocaine, which Biden's son has been accused of using, by the way, and crack cocaine. Biden's been pretending to sing a different tune on drugs, but why hasn't his own son and daughter's drug arrests been enough reason for him to admit that he had been wrong all these decades? At no point has Biden said that his own children's experience with drugs has helped him see that he was wrong for all the harsh legislation of the 80s and 90s that he pushed through Congress to criminalize drugs as much as possible. But then again, why would he regret it? He knew that crack was just a euphemism for black. Biden's legislation was never intended to stop drug anything. It was always meant to be a self-justifying means of demonizing black people and locking black people up en masse. It was always about race, never about drugs with him. The laws Biden put on the books worked exactly the way he intended them to. That's why he's not sorry about it. The screeching for harder drug penalties continued until the meth epidemic broke out. Meth is far more addictive than crack ever was, and it's used by a lot more people. And yet the politicians refuse to target it with specific laws. They're not going after meth the same way they went after crack. And the white media refuses to demonize the producers of that drug or its users. You don't see the white media pumping out movie after movie or TV show after TV show showing shootouts and ultra-violent behavior by meth kingpins and their dealers. You don't see David Simon or HBO making any TV shows about the meth epidemic. See, on The Wire, you had depictions of black children dealing drugs. Now, that is meant to justify the idea that black children are all criminals. So you're not going to see anybody having any shows with meth dealers having white children dealing meth. They ain't going to do that. There's not going to be a constant stream of movies, TV shows, or news investigative pieces showing us story after story about how dangerous meth dealers and meth users are. Instead, the white media's ignored the meth epidemic and the meth dealers across the board. And when it comes to meth users, no stories about how violent they are, or how many crimes they commit to fuel their drug addiction, how many people they've robbed, or story after story about parents who had to kick their kids out of the house because their kids were robbing their own mother and father. Instead, the white media's done exactly the opposite. They put on the sad music and tell you how these were so normal people just like you, before they got addicted. And these are poor downtrodden souls who fell into the grip of something far stronger than themselves. They're just like you, by the way. Instead of treating meth as a crime story like they did crack, the white media instead has opted to treat meth as nothing more than a human interest story. The white media is not talking to the police about what are you doing to lock all of these meth heads up. Instead, they're talking to the politicians and saying, why aren't you putting more money into public health services? The white media won't allow meth to be reported on or even talked about as a crime story. And the white media has not challenged any members of Congress to write laws to punish meth harshly or to do anything about it at all, or to demand that there are more cops on the streets. We need specific police operations specifically to go after meth. Why, it's the biggest drug epidemic in the country's history. And the white media is not demanding that anything be done to fight it or to punish those who cause the problem. And we all know why the white media has admitted to it. They've admitted to why this is a politically protected epidemic. So the white media and the politicians are all on code that meth is not a criminal issue, no matter how many arrests occur, no matter how many convictions result, no matter how many people get hurt or killed. So the sudden reluctance to talk tough about drugs wasn't because these politicians and the white media suddenly discovered religion. It's because the meth epidemic has made it impossible to be a hardcore lock-em-up type anymore. Well, at least not openly. They still make sure that where black people are concerned, the book gets thrown at us. They just sanitize the language slightly. Just a little bit. Well, if Womack's latest brush with the law turns out like any of his prior ones, he'll of course get a sweetheart plea deal, which will be given to him very quietly. The white media will make sure that they don't give this a whole lot of publicity, and he'll be sentenced to another boot camp because the last one sure helped him get his act together, and then he'll go back home to get high again. Because white supremacy means immunity from law, even when your own father is the one writing it. And that's this Friday's crime report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white corporate media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Nyan Pharmacy, Isaac, Deborah Cooper, Imani Metajani, and Sakina Collins. Salute to them, and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.